constellation research together with Robin Jenkins from RMH Franchise.
Yeah.
What does RMH Franchise do?
RMH Franchise is a franchisee of Applebee's, so we own and operate 139 Applebee's in 15 states.
Excellent. And you're based in?
We have a support center in Lincoln, Nebraska, where I'm out of. We have one in Lexington, Kentucky, and soon Atlanta.
Excellent. And you won yesterday our Supernova Award for consumerization of IT in the new C-suite for doing something really exciting, which we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Which is you face one of the typical problems which we see in the fast food franchise world, which is employee attrition. Want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, so the industry average for restaurant turnover is, for hourly employees, is 92%. And that's extremely costly and really hard to run a good restaurant if your employees are always turning over. So we started looking into how can we keep our employees? How do we make them more engaged? How do we help them build a reputation and have pride to work here and feel that brand loyalty? Especially, I mean, employees have just as many options as consumers with restaurants. So, and there's not a lot of barriers of entry to get into a new restaurant.
Perfect. So previously, before you looked at the solution, it was really back typically like to the manager. They're doing a better job understanding, coming closer, caring more for employees, getting more the sense of pride.
Yeah. We had previous reward and recognition programs, but they were very old school earn and burn rewards programs that weren't doing anything, and they were getting really costly and they weren't scalable. So we realized we had an opportunity to improve that area, definitely.
Perfect. So what gave you the idea to look into gamification for things?
Google introduced me to the term gamification, and after just some really primary research, and we started looking. There was a game called Diner Dash, that is a simulation game of running a restaurant. Very, very elementary though. Cool. And I started playing that, and I said, how can we use this tool to either train our employees, make them engaged, challenge them, all of that. So first we looked at it, and the idea was it would be much more game-like.
Right.
Instead, we started talking to vendors, and we partnered with Bunchball, and they said, you don't need to make a game. You can add these game mechanics into your already existing work and make that more engaging and let employees know how they're doing and how they compare and work together.
And that's very much in line with our research. We have 10 HCM trends, which I'll share with you later, but one of them is gamification being very, very powerful as a mechanism to change behavior of employees. And it's interesting that it's cross-generational. Yeah. I was at a conference earlier this year in Las Vegas, and the vendor handed out Fitbits to all employees. There were the stats. And at 11 o'clock after dinner, I walked to my hotel room and I see people walking around the hallway in Las Vegas with a big checking their Fitbit, going back to the board and seeing where they are. So it works really across generations. You mentioned the vendor already, Bunchball. Yeah. Why Bunchball?
Bunchball showed a very large interest in the idea, and Rajat Paharia, their founder and chief product officer, made it really clear that he wanted to make it really successful. And we have a fairly small IT team, and so he was willing to take some of the development work and help us with that. And their team's just great, and they came out to Lincoln. We gave them a tour of the restaurant, and right then Rajat's like, hey, we should put a TV here showing live data, and just the ideas that we were getting from them were very solid, and it's been a great partnership.
Perfect. And you just could put it in, or you run into some challenges there?
Well, we started deployment in December of last year in 3 test locations, and we did a couple different variations, one with a TV displaying the data, one without. Decided to put a TV in every restaurant, which was a nice investment. And so we did the rollout. We finished up by June of this year, and since then we've had great engagement. We also have some people who aren't adapting yet, but that's natural, and we're trying to change their behaviors. And I mean, it's always been said, you can't have your cell phone at work ever, and now we're saying, yeah, but log into B Block and and check out how you're doing and all of that. So it's disruptive.
It's disruptive. Excellent. So it's too early to have really formal ROI results for that, but retention is such a big issue in the fast food industry. You elaborate a little bit if you manage to move that number in any way down.
Yeah. For you. So our main KPI is retention and our turnover. So the average is 92%, and we're above 110%. So if we can reduce that, essentially every 10% we can reduce that is $1 million.
Wow.
So it's expensive.
So, but it's great to see that if you do it right, it might even pay for itself.
Oh, absolutely. So not only can we affect turnover, but with the challenges that we have for the employees, it's sales contests. So not only are we saying now we're going to show you how you're doing and make it more engaging, we're going to challenge you to do the things that will make us more money.
Yeah.
So a typical challenge would be around desserts or appetizers. And from the HR side, we don't care if the guest is purchasing those, but we care if the employee's demonstrating the behavior of asking and suggestively selling.
Very good. What advice would you give other practitioners who want to reduce retention, use gamification for that?
Talk to Bunchball.
Okay.
No, it's a really good tool, and it makes sense when you just think about anything that you do. If you have a goal and an insight, like an end point, you work harder to get there. I think anything and a lot of things are gamified and we just don't realize it.
Right.
And people say gamification is hype, but the actual game mechanics and the thinking is where it's actually more important. So the points and the levels and leaderboards, those are all just tools. What makes it engaging is that you're thinking, I'm challenged, I'm cooperating, I'm collaborating, and there's chance, choice, the ability to win. So just adding those short-term goals is a huge piece. And you don't necessarily have to go through this extensive gamification program. Just give people feedback. Make sure managers know that it's that attaboy is free, and it's really important.
Good. Any lessons learned to share? Any things to avoid for other practitioners who might listen to this?
So I think yesterday at the conference, a big thing was change management, and the data and the integration. That's the easy part. I don't know if IT would agree with me, but the hard part is getting the buy-in, training, education, making sure managers can use it as a tool instead of seeing it as a distraction. So really putting your time and effort into that change management is where we still have opportunity, and we have a lot of restaurants that are on board, but we definitely still have some laggers.
Right. Well, which is normal, right? So you wouldn't have a normal portfolio. So I think this is a great story Robin has been sharing with us here. And it's also interesting because the whole research area of consumerization of IT and then the new C-suite is about new trends in consumerism which happen in the consumer world, saying it 3 times now, coming into the corporate IT world, right? And overcoming the resistance that security and performance and scalability concept that IT usually has, right? Because both things have to work together well.
Right.
So this is a great story of overcoming this. So congratulations. I heard you worked 2 jobs to get that done. So shows great dedication to that. And thanks for sharing the story. And again, congratulations for winning the 2014 Supernova Award for consumerization of IT in the new C-suite.
Thank you very much.
Robin.
Thanks.